Aloha. On this channel, I've been doing a lot about A Course in Miracles. I've recently also read The Secret of the Golden Flower. I was doing a whole series on music and spirituality, and I called it The Gospel of Rock because I was mainly talking about rock music, the music that I really grew up with myself. I was born in '70, and today I want to talk about a song that came out, that was composed in 1970, the year I was born, came out in '71. This is one of my favorite songs, and this is one of, I think, the best songs of the whole era. But it doesn't get a whole lot of airplay. I mean, I actually heard it the other day on the radio. So, and here in Hawaii. So it's a great song, and it's a classic for the ages, and it's one of the great classic rock songs. And I'm talking about I've Seen All Good People by Yes. Now, I thought what we would do is just talk a little bit about the song. And the other reason I wanted to bring the song in was it's kind of a synchronicity, because I've been talking about John Lennon. I did a whole thing the other day about John Lennon, and I think I even talked a little bit about Instant Karma. And Instant Karma was a song that came out just a little earlier than this song. And Yes then borrowed the Instant Karma and also another line from John Lennon in their song, which I think is also very interesting. First of all, let's just talk about Yes. Yes does not get the credit that they deserve. I looked on Spotify; they have like 3 million monthly listeners, which is actually a lot considering that they're not really around anymore. I think they're up there with the great bands of the '60s and '70s, right? They're up there with Zeppelin and the Beatles and the Doors and the Stones. They were more talented, perhaps, or no, let's not say talented. They were more technically skilled, right? They did music that probably was beyond the technical ability in terms of composition, in terms of playing, than most bands could do. They were like on the same kind of level, maybe as like Rush or bands like that came a little later, and their style of rock is actually called prog rock or progressive rock. Sometimes it's just called prog. And this is a style that you see found in bands like Emerson, Lake and Palmer. It's actually a British phenomenon. It started in Great Britain in the '60s. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Rush. I mentioned Rush. Art rock bands. Another band that I really like is called Renaissance, which most people have never heard of, but Renaissance I thought was a great band as well, and they were similar to Yes in how they were putting their music together. Other bands too, you could say the early Genesis was like that as well. But let's talk about, I'm just going to read you a little bit about this song, I've Seen All Good People, and then we'll talk more about all this. I've Seen All Good People is a song by the English progressive rock band Yes, written by frontman John Anderson, amazing singer, and bassist Chris Squire, and recorded on their third studio album, the Yes album, which came out in 1971. The almost 7-minute song is in two parts. The first, titled Your Move, was released as a single in 1971, which peaked at number 40 in the US, which is pretty good, which helped the group build momentum. The second part is entitled All Good People. The tune uses chess as a lyrical metaphor for navigating interpersonal relationships. I think it's deeper than interpersonal relationships, but we'll look at the lyrics. And contains several allusions to the music of John Lennon. It has received positive reviews from several critics and has been considered one of Yes's best-known songs, with AllMusic's Mike DeGagne I don't know if I'm saying that right, stating that the, quote, the harmonies are resilient from start to finish, and that the track, quote, still stands as one of their most appealing works. Music critic Robert Christgau has also singled it out for praise. I would also say this is one of the great classic rock songs, of all time. This is definitely Yes's, maybe Yes's, next to Roundabout. Maybe this is Yes's best song. I think, you have Roundabout, you have Starship Trooper. Maybe not as good, but still great. Roundabout, this song. All right. A reference to John Lennon's work is in the lyric, "Send an instant karma to me," with Instant Karma being a single released by Lennon in 1970. Now, when I heard this song the other day on the radio, it brought me back. And I had never understood what they were saying in that line. Bring an instant. I always thought it was like, bring an instant comer to me. I didn't realize they were singing "Bring an instant karma to me" in a way that kind of is not as cool. It takes away a little bit of the mystery of the song, and for me, and it the fact that they borrowed that liberally from John Lennon and put it in their song, I think is a little weird, actually. So maybe it's good that I didn't know that. But I do love the part where they're singing, "All we are saying is give peace a chance." That's very cool that they brought that into their song, because that line really was a way of saying, the song starts with, "I've seen all good people turn their heads each day, so satisfied I'm on my way." It's a way of saying that so many of us turn a blind eye to what's happening in the world, the suffering, the atrocities of war that are happening even now in the world, and who's doing anything about it, right? And who is standing up for peace. And musicians, I think, it's a question of whether musicians have that responsibility, because they have the ear of the world or the public, and they have a very great power. There's that saying that the word is more powerful than the sword, right? So they have that power. They can wield that power, power to the people, right? That was a John Lennon song. To bring the power to the people, to empower themselves, to say no to war, to say no to these kinds of things that are happening, and say no. We're not. We're not condoning that. I don't accept that. I think the reality, though, if you don't mind me saying this, is ultimately I think everyone has to make their own personal stand for peace within themselves. And the world isn't necessarily going to change because we're protesting. Protesting might help. I wouldn't say not to protest, but let's not have any illusion that war, that life on Earth is going to be that much different. Again, doesn't mean not to protest. Doesn't mean not to say, let's lay down our arms and let's embrace each other. Let's not kill our brother. Let's not hate our brother. Let's not think that we, can kill and do anything with, and think that we're going to get anything from that. That's insanity. That's total insanity, and that's what war is. It's totally insane. But that's life on Earth. Totally insane. War just brings it to the surface, right? Brings what's going on here to the surface. So more generally, Anderson has stated that the line "cause its time and time with your time," which I never understood. I don't know if you ever understood that line. "Cause it's time and time with your time, and it's..." I forget the rest of it, but we're going to look at the words in a second. Was an attempt. So that was an attempt to say that he would, quote, "do anything that is required of me to reach God," and that he wants the listener to feel, quote, "in tune and in time with God." That's a very powerful statement in and of itself. And that's a little bit beyond, I think, what John might have been, like John wrote that song also, God, that I've talked about on this channel. God was responded to by U2, and actually U2 also did a version of Instant Karma. And Bono has clearly, he has a lot of admiration for John Lennon. Not everyone does, that's what I've brought into, is that some people don't like John Lennon. Other people think he was awesome. He was a genius, and he, for all of his personal foibles and fallibility, he was saying great things to help change the world, to help life on Earth, right? And that's the same with the Beatles. The Beatles, for the most part, sang a lot about love, and they sang a lot of beautiful music that has brought a lot of joy and happiness to a lot of people. Anyway, let's look at the lyrics real quick of this song, "I've Seen All Good People." Because if you're like me and you've listened to this song over the years, you don't really know what it's saying. You don't know what it means, and you might not even have really heard the words completely. So here are the words. "Seen all good people." Lyrics. Why don't I not have the lyrics? All right, here it is. "I've seen all good people turn their heads each day, so satisfied I'm on my way." And that's a personal statement, like saying, I'm on my way now that I realize what's happening here. That people are turning their heads and not dealing with reality. And then this first part is called "Your Move." So there's two parts to the song. The first part is called "Your Move." It's all about chess, right? So the first verse: "Take a straight and stronger course to the corner of your life. Make the white queen run so fast, she hasn't got time to make you a wife." Is that talking about interpersonal relationships? What is it talking about? Are you the black king, or what are you? You're the black, or are you the white here? I don't know. "Cause its time in time with your time, and its news is captured for the queen to use." Now it sounds like the queen bee, right? The queen, but it's still talking about chess. You really have to think about this, like I haven't really thought too deeply about it, but you really have to think deeply about what they're saying here. But remember that John Anderson said he wrote this line, "Cause its time and time, cause its time and time with your time, and its news is captured for the queen to use." He was expressing that he would do anything to reach God, and he wanted the listener to feel in time and in tune with God. So that's a very big statement, especially for a pop rock song, which this is. But again, this is also music that is more high art. It's like bringing together high art and low art. Rock and roll is like low brow, and then you have the high brow and you have the low brow, and it's putting the highbrow into the lowbrow format, People used to, my name is Low and Chest. People used to call me Low and Brow. Maybe there's something to that. Verse 2, move me on to any black square. Use me any time you want. Just remember that the goal is for us all to capture all we want, anywhere. Now, that's not interpersonal. This is John Anderson. I'm assuming John Anderson wrote the words. He wrote all the words. He's talking about God. He's saying, use me, God. Use me any way you want. Remember what the goal is. The goal is to is to find the all, right? That's my interpretation of this. And then the famous line here is the chorus. The famous lines: "Don't surround yourself with yourself. Move on back 2 squares." Now, I always thought that was move on back to square, but it's move on back 2 squares. Send an instant karma to me. Initial it with love and care, which doesn't really make sense. That's probably why I never thought it was instant karma, but I thought it was something else. But don't surround yourself with yourself. I assume that means, don't be egotistical. Don't be so self involved. Cause his time is time. I believe this is talking about God now. Cause his time is time, in time with your time, and its news is captured for the queen to use. And then it goes into the bridge, which is did it. Beautiful bridge. And then in the background they're singing, "Don't surround yourself with yourself." Then it goes back to the chorus, "Don't surround yourself with yourself, move on back 2 squares. Send an instant karma to me, initial it with love and care. Don't surround yourself with yourself. Cause its time, in time with your time, and its news is captured for the queen to use." And then in the bridge, right before the next part of the song, they're doing did it, but then Steve Howe or whoever it is singing in the background. All we are saying is give peace a chance. Maybe it's John Anderson. All we are saying is give peace a chance. So that's John Lennon, right? Then it goes to the next part of the song, which is all good people. And all it is that line. I've seen all good people turn their heads each day, so satisfied I'm on my way. And they say it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And it keeps going down like a half a step or something, or a full step, which is interesting how they do it. And it's a very cool, upbeat. It's a really nice shift from the first part to the second part. Steve Howe is just a brilliant guitar player, one of the best ever. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. I think in general, as far as guitar playing, this is why George Harrison was so good, is that you want to, whatever you're playing needs to fit the song, right? If you're playing a solo, somehow it needs to really fit the song and not just be a solo for solo's sake. There's an art to creating a solo. And Steve Howe's playing was just, really, really brilliant in that regard. And for example, for this song, he used a Portuguese guitar. That's why it sounds different. For the first part of the song, he used a Portuguese guitar, and that's why it would probably be very hard to imitate that. I think that sometimes in concert he used that Portuguese guitar, but other times he just used a regular guitar. I'm gonna look and see if I can find a video of him playing it. Maybe I'll put it in the description of this video. And what else do we want to say about this? Let me read you a little bit about instant karma. What does instant karma mean? Instant karma was a song. One of the things that's interesting about Instant Karma was that it was written instantly. It was like written very quickly by John Lennon. He basically had been talking to some friends about the idea of instant karma. And what is the idea of instant karma? The idea of instant karma, a concept in which the consequences of one's actions are immediate rather than borne out over a lifetime. It's a really amazing song. It's one of John Lennon's best songs, and it actually competed with the Beatles when it came out. It came out in '70, and it competed with the Beatles' Let It Be. John Lennon had George Harrison on it, and he also used Phil Spector, who was known for the Wall of Sound, and that's used in that song. I think of instant karma personally as...
Someone wants to bring something cool to the park. What do you think I should bring?
I don't know, bud. We'll figure it out. But let me just finish this video, okay, bud? I'm almost done it.
Yeah, but when am I gonna bring to the...
Maybe I'm done now. But instant karma is, I think of it as you become more aware, consciously aware.
Is this your book?
Yep, that's my book, bud.
Then why does it look so weird? I haven't seen it in a book.
Hold on a second, bud. Let me just finish the video, bud, and then we'll talk more about everything, okay? As you become more spiritually aware, consciously aware, you start to see the connections between things, and you see that you do get your poetic justice, and it can be much quicker depending on whether you're willing to go there, right? If you're willing to work through your fear, and if you're willing to reach the pinnacle of spirituality in your lifetime, then your karma will be speeded up. And that I think is really the idea of instant karma, is that you make that choice within yourself that I want to know the truth. I want to know what reality is. And if you do, then your karma will be speeded up, so you won't have to experience your karma in other lifetimes, or it will be much more quick. And the other thing about if it's quicker is that you can make the connections, like, oh, I did that and this happened, so now I realize that if I do that, then this is going to happen, right? Whereas if the karma happened much later, if your comeuppance happened later, then you wouldn't necessarily make that connection, and you wouldn't learn as much maybe from it. Something may happen, you're like, why is this happening to me? But with instant karma, you are that much more aware, because it's so close in time that you can say, oh, I stepped on this ant in the morning, and now later in the day, ants are getting all over my food. Something like that, right? So anyway, that's it for today. I want to just celebrate the great music, the great band that Yes is. I think they deserve great acclaim and praise and listening. Their music is, I think, not only is it great music, but it touches you, touches the heart, and is really spiritual. And that's rare in music, in pop rock music. That's a rare thing. So anyway, thank you. I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, anything. See you soon. Bye-bye.